CDL Practice Test, California, General Knowledge, Part 3. Question number 53. The first step to take if your vehicle catches fire while driving is A. Immediately open the door and jump out. B. Head for the nearest service station. C. Get the vehicle off the road and stop in an open area. The correct answer is here, C. Get the vehicle off the road and stop in an open area. Explanation. The first step is to get the vehicle off the road and stop. In doing so, park in an open area, away from buildings, trees, brush, other vehicles, or anything that might catch fire. Don't pull into a service station. Question number 54. Which of these is a proper use of vehicle lights and flashes? A. Flashing your brake lights to warn someone behind you of a hazard that will require slowing down. B. Flashing your brake lights to warn someone behind you that you are going to stop on the road. C. Both of the above. The correct answer is here, C. Both of the above. Explanation. Use your brake lights to warn other drivers that you are preparing to slow down or stop, or there is a hazard ahead for which you'll have to slow down. Question number 55. Which of these is not a danger when an automatic transmission is forced into a lower gear at a high speed? A. Damage to the transmission. B. Loss of engine braking effect. C. Loss of steering control. The correct answer is here, C. Loss of steering control. Explanation. When you're about to start down a steep downgrade, release the gas pedal, shift into a low gear, and use engine braking to slow your vehicle. Don't try to downshift after your speed has already built up. You will not be able to shift into a lower gear then. You may not even be able to get back into any gear and all engine braking effect will be lost. If you try to downshift an automatic transmission after your speed has already built up, you may damage the transmission. Question number 56. What effects can wet brakes cause? A. Brakes can work better. B. Your foot can get tired. C. Brakes can grab or become weak. The correct answer is here, C. Brakes can grab or become weak. Explanation. Brakes use friction to convert the kinetic energy of your moving vehicle into heat. If the brakes get wet, the brake shoes or brake pads may produce less friction. The brakes will grab, apply unevenly, or become weak. When you try to brake, your braking distance may increase, your vehicle may pull to one side, or the wheels may lock. On a wet road, locked wheels can cause a skid, or even a jackknife if you're pulling a trailer. Question number 57. To avoid a crash, you had to drive onto the right shoulder. You are now driving at 40 miles per hour on the shoulder. How should you move back onto the pavement? A. Brake hard to slow the vehicle, then steer sharply onto the pavement. B. Secured in a way that allows the driver to move freely and easily. C. Keep moving at the present speed and steer very gently back onto the pavement. The correct answer is here, C. Keep moving at the present speed and steer very gently back onto the pavement. Explanation. If you're forced to steer onto the shoulder to avoid a collision, try to come to a complete stop before you move back onto the road. Moving back onto the road at high speed could cause you to lose control. Question number 58. On a two-way, two-lane road, if you must stop on a hill, How far back should you place your reflective triangles? A. Within 250 feet behind the vehicle. B. Within 100 feet behind the vehicle. C. Within 500 feet behind the vehicle. The correct answer is here. C. Within 500 feet behind the vehicle. Explanation. If you park on the side of the road and the view of your vehicle is obscured by a hill or curve, place a reflective triangle far enough, up to 500 feet behind your vehicle so it can be seen by other drivers. Question number 59. If you have a heavy load that is slowing you down on an upgrade, you should A. Shift into a lower gear. B. Exit the roadway until traffic is lighter. C. Drive on the shoulder so that others can pass you easily. The correct answer is here. A. Shift into a lower gear. Explanation. Trucks with heavy loads are often slower when going uphill. In this situation, keep right and shift into a lower gear for more torque if possible. Question number 60. When approaching a traffic light that has been green for a long time, you should A. Start to slow down so you will be ready to stop. B. Continue at your current speed. C. Accelerate so you get through the light. The correct answer is here. A. Start to slow down so you will be ready to stop. Explanation. A traffic light that has been green for a long time is probably about to change to a yellow and then a red light. When approaching such a green light, slow down and be prepared to stop. Never speed up in an attempt to beat the light before it turns red. Question number 61. What's the safest way to use turn signals when you intend to turn? A. Signal well in advance of the turn. B. Do both of the above. C. Signal continuously up through the turn. The correct answer is here. B. Do both of the above. Explanation. 3 good rules for the use of turn signals are as follows. Open bracket. 1. Signal early. States usually have laws on how far in advance drivers must signal a turn, but you may want to signal even earlier to keep other drivers from trying to pass you. Open bracket. 2. Signal continuously. Keep your hands on the steering wheel and keep the turn signal on as you start the turn. 3. Cancel the turn signal after you've turned, if it hasn't turned off by itself already. Question number 62. When should retarder brakes be turned off? A. Retarder brakes should never be turned off. B. Retarder brakes should be turned off when driving in stop and go traffic. C. Retarder brakes should be turned off when driving on the highway. D. On wet, icy, or snow-covered roads. The correct answer is here. D. On wet, icy, or snow-covered roads. Explanation. Retarder brakes should be turned off when the roads are wet, icy, or covered in snow because slippery road conditions can cause your drive wheels to skid. Question number 63. If an automatic transmission is forced into a lower gear while driving, what is not affected on a downgrade? A. Brakes. B. Clutch. C. Steering. The correct answer is here. C. Steering. Explanation. Forcing an automatic transmission into a lower gear at high speed could damage the transmission and also led to loss of all engine braking effect. Question number 64. When you drive in the mountains, you will have to use lower gears to drive safely down grades. Which of these does not affect your choice of gears? A. Length of the grade. B. Weight of the load. C. Type of tire tread. The correct answer is here. C. Type of tire tread. Explanation. To determine which low gear to use to begin a descent, consider the weather, the length and steepness of the downgrade, the weight of your cargo, and the road conditions. Question number 65. Which of these will help keep an engine cool in hot weather? A. Making sure the engine has the right amount of oil. B. Driving faster to force more air into the radiator. C. Running the air conditioner. The correct answer is here. A. Making sure the engine has the right amount of oil. Explanation. To ensure that your vehicle's engine won't overheat in hot weather, make sure that there is adequate coolant and engine oil, and check that the coolant hoses are in good condition and not leaking. Both coolant and oil carry off heat generated by the engine. Question number 66. Which of these can cause a fire? A. Loose fuel connections. B. Both of the above. C. Underinflated tires. The correct answer is here. B. Both of the above. Explanation. Underinflated tires, dual tires that touch, and loose fuel connections are just some of the things that can start a fire. Question number 67. To help you stay alert while driving, you should A. Take cold medicine if you have a cold. B. Take short breaks before you get drowsy. C. Schedule trips for hours during which you are normally asleep. The correct answer is here. B. Take short breaks before you get drowsy. Explanation. The monotony and boredom of a long drive can lead to highway hypnosis and drowsiness. To prevent this, stop for a break about once every 2 hours or 100 miles. Some cold and allergy medications can cause drowsiness, sedation, or disturbed coordination, which makes them dangerous for CMV operators. If you are unsure about the effects of a particular medication, check the warning label or ask your pharmacist or doctor. Question number 68. If you must stop on a road or the shoulder of any road, you must put out your emergency warning devices within A. 5 minutes, B. 15 minutes, C. 10 minutes. The correct answer is here. C. 10 minutes. Explanation. If you must stop on a road or the shoulder of any road, you must put out your emergency warning devices within 10 minutes. Question number 69. Trucks and buses are subject to certain laws, restrictions, and regulations. Which of these statements is true? A. County and city laws do not apply to trucks and buses engaged in interstate commerce. B. Federal regulations apply only to trucks and buses driven at least 50 miles on a trip. C. Laws and restrictions can vary from place to place. The correct answer is here. C. Laws and restrictions can vary from place to place. Explanation. You must always follow federal, state, and local regulations for your location. These regulations cover such aspects of commercial driving as vehicle weight, cargo, and allowed routes. The regulations can vary from one jurisdiction to another, so know which jurisdictions you'll be driving through. Question number 70. Which of these statements about marking a stopped vehicle is true? A. You do not need to put out reflective triangles unless the vehicle will be stopped for 30 minutes or more. B. The vehicle's taillights should be kept on, warning other drivers. C. If a hill or curve keeps drivers behind you from seeing the vehicle within 500 feet, the rear reflective triangle should be moved back down the road to give adequate warning. The correct answer here, C. If a hill or curve keeps drivers behind you from seeing the vehicle within 500 feet, the rear reflective triangle should be moved back down the road to give adequate warning. Explanation. If line of sight view is obstructed due to a hill or curve, move the rearmost triangle to a point back down the road so warning is provided up to 500 feet. Question number 71. Which of the following best describes how sleep debt can be paid off? A. It can be overcome with willpower and non-sleep aids. B. It will go away by itself over a period of time. C. It can only be paid off by sleeping. The correct answer is here, C. It can only be paid off by sleeping. Explanation. Sleep debt is a dangerous condition in which missing sleep adds up until you risk falling asleep at the wheel unless you get some rest. People are often surprised that getting less than 6 hours of sleep per night triples the risk of an accident. At least 15% of heavy truck crashes are believed to involve driver fatigue. Before each trip, you should get adequate sleep. Adults need 8 to 9 hours to maintain alertness. Question number 72. Tie-downs must be of the proper type and strength. The combined strength of cargo tie-downs must be strong enough to lift A. the weight of the cargo tied down, B. twice the weight of the cargo tied down, C. 3 times the weight of the cargo tied down, D. 1.5 times the weight of the cargo tied down. The correct answer is here, D. 1.5 times the weight of the cargo tied down. Explanation. Tie-downs must be of the proper type and proper strength. Federal regulations require the aggregate working load limit of any securement system used to secure an article or group of articles against movement must be at least 1.5 times the weight of the article or group of articles. Question number 73. When driving in an area with few streetlights on a clear night, if you cannot see well with your headlights, you should A. turn your interior lights on, B. find another route that is better lit, C. use your high beams when legal and keep your interior lights off. The correct answer is here, C. use your high beams when legal and keep your interior lights off. Explanation. If the lights from your instrument panel or other interior lights are too bright, it will take time for your eyes to adjust to the darkness outside. Help your eyes adjust to the outside darkness by dimming your instrument panel lights as much as possible and turning off all other interior lights. Use your high beam headlights whenever possible. However, dim your headlights whenever you're within 500 feet of an oncoming vehicle or within 500 feet of a vehicle you are following. Question number 74. You are driving on a 2-lane road. An oncoming vehicle drifts into your lane and is headed straight for you. Which of the following should you do? A. brake hard. B. Prepare for impact. C. Steer to the right. The correct answer here. C. Steer to the right. Explanation. Hard braking can cause a skid. Instead, if an oncoming vehicle drifts into your lane, steer right toward the shoulder or curb. Do not steer left. The other driver may try to steer back into the proper lane. Prepare to drive entirely off the roadway to the right if necessary to avoid a head-on collision. Question number 75. What does axle weight mean? A. Both of the above. B. The weight transmitted to the ground by one axle or one set of axles. C. The weight transmitted to the tires from the axle. The correct answer here. B. The weight transmitted to the ground by one axle or one set of axles. Explanation. Axle weight is the weight transmitted from one axle or a set of axles to the ground. Question number 76. Where can you find the tire's load rating? A. In the packaging you received with the tire. B. On the tire manufacturer's website. C. Inside each tire. D. On the side of each tire. The correct answer here. D. On the side of each tire. Explanation. The tire load is the maximum safe weight that a tire can carry for a specific pressure. This rating can be found on the side of each tire. Question number 77. Name some suspension system defects. A. Leaking shock absorbers. B. Broken leaves in a leaf spring and a cracked or broken spring hanger. C. Both of the above. The correct answer here. C. Both of the above. Explanation. Leaking shock absorbers and broken or missing leaves are two of the more common defects that may occur in a suspension system.